of the central themes of this film is that life is too short and you should be doing what you love, which we see reflected in Freddie's character and his journey. How did your previous experiences in this industry and the previous projects that you were pitched inspire you to not only write this story, but also push the boundaries of storytelling?
Lots there. I'm not as young as I once was, so I take the attitude I'm just going to make what I want to make as much as possible. I got offered 10 gangster films. Mr. Big, if you don't pay him 10 grand by the weekend, your family's bang in trouble. As oh, for fuck's sake, you know what I mean? So I'm actually Freddie's probably had 10 of those scripts as well.
Oh, yeah,
cool. I decided to just write something that I wanted to really, really do and have the freedom to my passion is mountaineering, and I was young and I was stupid and I'm still stupid and I'm still relatively ish young. That's about my answer to that, I think.
Yeah, Freddie, you've said that physicality is often the entry point for you in discovering a character. Mikey has such a distinct reason for why he's climbing and what it represents to him. You actually started this preparation for this project years before. Can you talk a little bit about the process and how it allowed you to tap into Mikey's emotional core?
Yeah, so obviously, the quote you're referring to, I'm actually talking about how physicality can help me as an entry point to my character as an exercise to find the character, right? But in this case, I suppose the physicality of actually being a mountaineer and climbing is a different context. But I think for me, it actually goes more to your first question: is like Michael is a character who is motivated by his passion and his dreams, and as we see from the beginning of the film, he was just not able to toe the line and be in an environment that didn't, inspire him. And so I think, with conversations with Julian and some of the real understandings of what motivates Michael, which also, the passing of his sister and a kind of, that loss and how there was kind of unfinished business for him. It was all those factors that really kind of helped me find Michael and what motivates him.
Great answer. Julian, trust is such a key component in filmmaking, especially on a project like this, where you're dealing with filming on location and kind of the dangers of nature and the elements. How are you able to build that trust with your cast and crew?
Heinrich Harrer, in his book, The White Spider, which is all about the first climbs on the north face of the Eiger in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and that he talks about the trust that you put in. Sometimes people you've only met a few days before, and you're handing them your life, and the trust, literally the trust is the rope. You know what I mean? And so you climb in twos. So I thought that was a sort of a good theme. It's sort of good at the way they move in twos. I liked, when I see the rope between Jean-Pierre and Michael, I sort of see that as the trust between them. And one thing, but anyway, going on, how do you get your trust of your crew? Because you hire the best climbers, and the other thing is you put your climbing boots on and you go out and you do what, if you're going to ask anybody else to do something, you go out and do it first. On your own. I did a lot of camera work in this film, and put myself in a lot of precarious positions. So people pretty soon go, well, he wouldn't hang off the edge of that if it was, So you do show people. I suppose you do lead by example, at least, with the physicality of a film like this. You just go, guys, we're jumping in the deep end. Let's get cold and do it together.
And Freddie, how did that trust allow you to take agency over your character? And which of Mikey's relationships was your favorite to explore in this film, and why?
Yeah, well, I mean, to further Julian's point, like so they're called IFMGA guides, right? And they kind of ended up being both our crew, but also our safety, and we did a lot of climbs with them first. And very quickly, when you're in that kind of intimate setting, you kind of feel out who you're with, and we ended up having a very collaborative and trusting environment on set, and that just happened organically, you know, by doing the work and by spending a lot of time with each other. It's a hard question because there's three main there's his relationship with his sister, which is his motivation for pretty much the whole film. There's obviously his relationship with Mathilde, who plays Isabel, and then there's JP, and each one has an equal footing in what the film is. But I think probably the most interesting to explore was his relationship with his sister. And there was sadly a couple scenes that we did film that didn't make it into the final cut, which kind of furthered that story a bit. But regardless of it being in the film or not, I think it was really important exploration in the final, you know, landscape of who Michael was. So for me, yeah, that was probably the most interesting.
Right. And so, Julian, this film has been years in the making. What's one thing that you know now that you wish you knew when you embarked on this journey years ago?
Great question.
I mean, you know, you're constantly chopping and changing. I mean, I don't. I mean, you know, you make a film and films are never finished. Films are abandoned. You know, at a certain point, I'm like, oh, I just like to try. I woke up yesterday and thought, oh, I'd just like to adjust that edit there and add in a slight sound effect there. And it's like, no, it's done. You can do that on the next one. I think, yeah, you know, you always learn something. You always get better. It's you know, it's like anything. You know, practice makes perfect, but you know, you can't be so precious as to sort of never pick up a camera or never pick up a script and you know and think, well, you know, if I hold back, I'll make the next, because you just got to keep doing and try and do it to your best of abilities. What would I no I mean, you know, I made the film as honestly as I could, and I have no regrets with that. You know, I mean, yes, could I have technically done X better or Y better? No, I'm pretty, you know, pretty happy with how things turned out, and all I can do is work on, you know, my future projects, some of them radically different to this, and enjoy them for what they are, I guess.
Yeah, it's a great film. Freddie, this film finds you showing off all of your talents, from the physical stunt work to the emotional journey of this character. Now that the film is out, is there a scene in particular that you're really excited for audiences to see?
Yeah, well, people have asked us this question a few times, and I've given a different answer each time. But yeah, I think for me the scene that most feels most cathartic when I watch it as well would be the scene where he's confronting JP's parents, because I think we spent a lot of time on this job. It spanned a few years, and we had a lot of experiences together that the lines were blurred between you know, this being an experience in my life and this being a film about Michael's life. And I think we actually shot that scene pretty close to the end, and I think there was quite a lot of me in that too. So it was a scene I was really proud of, and yeah, I am excited for people to watch that. I hope it means as much to them as it did to me.
Definitely.
I just want to interject with what Freddie was saying, because he did film that scene towards the end of the shoot, and on the Monday and Tuesday, 4 people had been killed in the fresh snow avalanches that had happened up on the Mont Blanc glacier. And so, you know, all the time that Freddie and myself were out there, and when we were shooting out there, there were always, sadly, there are always going to be fatalities and that kind of thing. And they weren't lost on the crew. They weren't lost on the car. And I think, you know, Freddie, he climbed with a lot of people. Freddie had spoken to a lot of people who'd experienced grief, heartache, pain, etc. And so, yeah, I think by the time he came to do that scene, I think, you know, it felt very, very organic, you know, definitely.
100%. 100%.
There's definitely a lot of weight in that scene for audiences when they see it. Julian, I have a similar question for you. You're able to capture the thrills of being a mountaineer so well, and this film is out now. What do you hope audiences take away? And is there a scene that you were really excited for audiences to see?
You know, it's one of those films, you know, from a technical standpoint, I could say, yeah, you know, wait till the north face of the Eiger or some Mont Blanc or the Matterhorn or whatever. But you know, I always, I do feel like it's a journey. You know, you really, you know,
Yeah.
take the film, you know, take, get a bottle of wine, you know, or you know, sat down, you know, get ready for an adventure, and you know, let it wash over you. And so I would sort of argue, yeah, you know, the whole film, because I think, you know, a lot of the scenes that come later, if I say, oh, you'll really like this scene, but actually the reason they work is because of the scenes that have come before them, you know.
I've got one final question for the two of you, but the film stresses the importance of your next move. For both of you, what's next for you? Where can audiences see you next?
Freddie.
So yeah, I mean, I'm actually just started shooting on a new independent feature. I'm shooting here in London, and it's slightly different flavor. It's a kind of queer love story set during Pride Week here in London, about a kind of romantic relationship between a drag performer and a kind of straight acting businessman, and the eventualities that unfold with those two. So it's a different flavor, but I'm equally excited about that as I have been about Summit Fever. So yeah, probably won't be out for a year or so, but that's what I'm working on at the moment.
Well, I think that'll be great, Freddie. I will be first in line. I'll definitely watch that. I would. What am I doing? I'm doing a couple of projects, 3 projects, in fact. A road movie, an American road movie. I'm also doing a science fiction film with Lloyd Levin, the producer of Watchmen, Die Hard, Hellboy, and I'm also doing a World War II movie, also in the Alps. So I'll get to go back to some of these incredible locations. So yeah, so you know, lots more adventures to have. And you know, Kevin, it has to be an adventure, otherwise, you know, go do something else, you know.